Hey, welcome back, folks, to Tales of Our Time. Today, I'm still joined with our guest, Matthew Smith. And last time we talked about, traumatic childhoods. Talked about, kind of what we went through and how it's kind of made us who we are later on in life. Today, I want to bring that topic back, but kind of with a different twist. I want to talk about things that helped us get through those things. And I know for me, a big part of like my life has always been movies and music. So I would like to start by, maybe talking about some albums or some artists that really help you understand what your life looked like versus what it could look like, what it should look like, what you wanted it to be. Did it trigger an emotion in you that just, made you feel better afterwards? And kind of like to go down that path. Let's talk about healing as opposed to the pain. So, welcome again, Matthew. Glad to have you here. I appreciate your presence here as well. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Great to be here. Thank you for inviting me again.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Um,
this is an interesting one.
yeah,
Music and movies, I think a lot of people use in a therapeutic way. I know I have throughout life. We briefly touched on talking about this a few days ago, and I've been spinning things around in my head like, oh, what kind of answers would I have for this one? So I'm excited to see what you've got. Um, you may chuckle a little bit about what I've got, but that's the
mhm,
fun part about it.
absolutely. I'm going to start with the very first CD or the very first album I ever purchased, actually on CD. And real quick, just to give you a little background on it before I tell you what it is. This is kind of the first CD I ever listened to that made me realize how sheltered I really was in life. That's going to be Black Sunday by Cypress Hill.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, when I realized that, there is a lot bigger world of people that don't do good things, don't do, that are involved in drugs, and, life isn't what I see in my, street on a daily basis at the age of 12. It's not what the real world is. So that finally gave me like an opening view of what life outside of my little confined space looked like.
That was a good one.
Not the first rap CD I ever bought or album I ever listened to, but
Yeah.
definitely the one I felt like had the greatest impact in terms of like I started understanding things better after listening to that and kind of helped me choose a path on whether or not I wanted to be successful or, be a drug addict or and at 12, I mean, it's very easy to get wrapped up in things like that at 12, like you start looking for positive influences outside of a negative area and it's very easy to be involved in something that just tries to mask the pain. And I felt like the music did its job. It masked it enough to where I could get through it as opposed to pushing me towards something it was singing about.
Yeah.
But
You
you,
know, uh, a lot of music was the same thing for me. I would listen to it to learn and try to understand and make sure that I was taking the positive out of it and moving. I enjoyed that album too. It was definitely not the first one that I ever owned or bought. Um, a very similar thing for me. I think I was 7 years old when my great grandmother bought me a little boombox
okay.
with a tape player, and someone gave me two tapes. They gave me Bon Jovi, New Jersey, and they gave me Run DMC, Tougher Than Leather.
Wow.
So here I am at 7 years old, running through those, and a lot of the same things like you're talking about, those emotions that it helped you evoke. Uh, One of the first things on my list was Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. Um,
Love that album.
yeah. At one point in my life, we were living with a guy at his house, and he had all kinds of Pink Floyd posters up, and he had all the albums and movies. And I remember the Dark Side of the Moon and the Wall very well.
Mhm.
The Dark Side of the Moon has carried with me more through my adult life too. I still listen to it probably 10, 12 times a year.
Okay. I never turn off a Pink Floyd song ever. I feel like it's, sacrilegious to do so. My next big album that kind of fell into a timeline was when I realized how much power I had. I think being kind of always told that I was never going to amount to anything as a child, that this kind of gave me an outlet for my anger. And that's Limp Bizkit, Significant Other.
Yeah.
I think I probably, replayed Give Me Something to Break probably 3,000 times in a row to the point where my parents were just over it. But it literally spoke volumes to the amount of rage I had inside of me, and then kind of also in the same aspect of like I'm a lot more powerful than I give myself credit for.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of like molded me into what led me to the future albums that kind of speak to my life as well. I mean, how do you top Pink Floyd? I mean, what comes next on the list
Well,
of
honestly, I think this one would fit right around the same time as you were listening to Limp Bizkit. Now, I listened to Limp Bizkit also. I really enjoyed those things, but the most influential album for me, probably around the same age there, would have been Alice in Chains' Dirt. Um, like there was so much passion in that. And at that point in time, I had just moved out on my own. I think I had told you I was 15 when I moved out. So I think I was about 16, maybe just turning 17 at that point in time when I really started listening to that album. And I would even play it when I slept at night. But there's a lot of songs in there that resonated with me in a way that, like you stated, made me feel like I could get through this. Um, and there was definitely some Limp Bizkit and some other things tossed into my playlist
Oh,
at
of
that
course.
point. That's definitely um, the one that hit me really well and helped me get through a lot of pain. The way he worded the pain on the paper or through the
Right.
vocals, it's like okay, yeah, it helped me release this and move forward.
Yeah, following from there, I mean, this kind of came out. It was more of a local scene for this first album of this artist. Um, but I felt like if you knew who he was back then, it only kind of helps you to appreciate who he's become down the line. And that's kind of exactly why I named this album Next. It's because it hit me in a time where I was just getting through Marine Corps boot camp and really needed to take control of my life and be like, hey, you made mistakes as a child, as a teenager, as a young adult. Those don't have to define you. If you get serious about who you want to be now, then you can take yourself serious down the line and really become something of this. And the fact that I've said the word serious so many times now is funny because the name of the album is I'm Serious and it's by T.I.
Okay.
Um, real local rapper to Atlanta. He made a good little footprint and then he kind of blew up after that. But that first initial album of his, I remember somebody questioning whether or not I was really from Atlanta. And I was like, well, I was never born there. I mean, I've spent the last several years of my life there. I consider myself to be just as much from Atlanta as anybody else. And they were like, well, what do you listen to? And when I put this album on, it literally destroyed all doubt they had of who I was and where I was from. So I thought it was pretty cool that like you can really tell a lot about yourself about the albums and the artists that you listen to. And I mean, not just try to understand your own emotions and stuff like that, but can really speak volumes to other people of I know that guy and for somebody else to be listening to that particular album,
Yeah.
you know, must really know the struggles of what it's like to grow up in Atlanta and being there and stuff like that. So
I've enjoyed what I've heard of Ti, but that's something I'll have to check that album out and give it a listen. That sounds interesting to me.
so
Uh,
where do we go after the dirt?
well, this one actually took me back to when I was living in Indiana with my aunt. I was about 9 years old. She had all kinds of actual records, so I would get to play on the record player. And she had the Eagles Hotel California. I think that was probably the first album I ever knew the lyrics to every song. And I was, a little kid running around singing that. And that's another one that I play a lot throughout my life.
I love Hotel California. I
Yeah.
like the Eagles. I mean, I'm a big fan.
Yeah. One of the songs I would sing to my grandson, yeah, when he was young was Hotel California, and he still wants me to sing it to him now. So, and we play it, and he's like, and he'll dance around. So,
That's
I've
awesome.
already tried to hook him on the Eagles also. But yeah, that was one of the albums. Like, I don't, there's not a bad song on that album. I don't think.
No, it
Um,
really
but
isn't. I mean, they could have made it a greatest hits album before they even had one,
it,
and it would
well,
have probably done just fine.
yeah. So yeah, it was one of those that was very. I think that was where it solidified my love of music, if that makes sense.
Wow. Okay.
Now talking about local stuff, I'm a little more eclectic. Like here for me, John Prine is one of my favorite artists of all time, and it's more of a folk music. But that's kind of the area that I grew up in. I wasn't far from Muhlenberg County.
Right.
Yeah.
From there, I kind of fell into, I mean, the love of my life at that point. Shortly after joining the Marine Corps, I met my wife and we dated for 3, 4 years and then we got married. Well, dated for 11 months, engaged for 2 years, and then married. And we'll hit 20 years of marriage here next month. So, in less than a month, on July 8th, we'll be hitting our 20 years. You just hit 25. I mean, congratulations. That's
Yeah.
a huge milestone.
Yeah.
Just off topic, is there any one album that you think describes your whole marriage? Can you name it on the fly?
An album.
Or a song?
No.
I always like to
Let's-
joke that Highway to Hell is pretty much exactly where I live.
I love AC/DC, but yeah, hopefully, I'm glad I get. I can't name that one. Um, Let's Stay Together. I've
Okay.
always thought it was an amazing song. It's one of me and my wife's favorites. But probably the one that fits us even better is Alice Cooper's song. I think it's just called You and Me. It's been a minute since I've listened to it. Um, but yeah, that one's a really good one also. So I think those would be the two songs I would go to go for that. We actually had talked about doing a renewal, and when we do, we want to play the You and Me song because we're sure not everyone's heard it. But it's a if you haven't heard that one, go look for that for Alice
Yeah,
Cooper.
definitely gonna have to check that one out. Yeah, so my wedding song also happens to come from this album, but I mean this is one of two albums I listened to quite a bit in the same time frame of about 2003 to 2006 when we got married. Was You Had Me From Hello on the Everywhere You Go album by Kenny Chesney. So
Okay.
Had Me From Hello. My wife and I actually met over the phone.
Okay.
So, just hearing her voice and hearing hello and then her attitude and everything like that, because she's from Boston. So obviously me being from the South, it was like two people that couldn't have clicked any worse, clicked so well that it just everywhere we go, like that's where we're at.
Well, that is a great meet cute story. For me, I always get to say my wife was looking for a dog, and the joke is she found one. I had just moved to Scottsville, Kentucky. It's the first day that we were in our house. I was waiting for a few friends to come and pick me up to go out to play basketball that night. And she was at her cousin's house, and her cousin's dog ran off. I brought my pup with me, so they came to my house looking for their dog because they heard the dog barking and opened the door. She was, and then from that point, I think we met again 7 days later, and from that point forward, we've been together. Yeah, it's like you said, 20 years of marriage. We've been together almost 27 years. So
Yeah, we've been together 22, and yeah, it's pretty impressive. Like the trials and tribulations you go through as a couple and still being able to stand on the other side, almost saying you hit like a bitch, for life. Life comes at you hard.
yeah. Well, I think it's neat that you went to a country artist because the fourth one
Right?
I had on my list is Garth Brooks' No Fences.
Oh, another album I love. That's
Yeah.
funny you say that because that's actually the second album I was referring to, and the
Well,
two that
it's
I listened to quite a bit during the same
yeah.
time frame.
Yeah, I mean, that was once again another one front to back. I think they're all amazing songs for different reasons. And at that point in time, I was kind of against country music, but Garth Brooks, I just couldn't. I was listening to some Dwight Yoakam at the time too, so
Okay.
I don't think that I was completely out of the works. But that was one of those things that
Hey,
really
Queen
set
of
me
My
back.
Double Wide Trailer. That was my song with my high school girlfriend.
Yeah,
She lived in a double wide, and I sang it to her every day. But then I met my wife, and then this
yeah,
it was just like perfect timing. Like I picked up the phone. She was fighting with a buddy of mine that I was in the Marine Corps with, and he was calling to apologize, and she didn't want to hear it. So I was like, let me talk to her. And she wasn't nice to me either on the phone. I mean, she was still ripping into him. And then we talked every day for I met her in January of '04. We talked every day until April. Then I flew out to Boston and met her for the first time. Now, being 21, I didn't really think of all of the avenues of like what is involved flying to a city you've never been to before. But I spent my entire paycheck out of the Marine Corps as a PFC. I made $600 every 2 weeks. And I spent my entire paycheck on my round trip ticket to Boston and back. So when I got there, they were like, "Where are you going to sleep?" And I was like, "Hadn't thought that one through yet." And they were like, "Well, you can sleep on the couch." And I was like, "Well, I appreciate that. I will take that." And then they fed me. They brought me into their home. They pretty much fell in love with me ever since. And when I asked permission to marry their daughter 2 years later, it was an astounding yes from both of them. So
that's awesome.
pretty cool. But again, I mean, we all go through problems. We all go through struggles within life and marriage and stuff like that. And I didn't come out of the Marine Corps unscathed. I do suffer from PTSD pretty badly, which caused me to go down a bunch of paths that I didn't want to go down when I first got out of the Marine Corps. I think I was trying to find my voice and my foothold as a civilian again, where my service didn't really matter to anybody outside of my own head. And those mistakes led to more mistakes. And instead of trying to learn from my mistakes, I was trying to compound them with what I thought were lesser mistakes to make it not seem so bad. But it snowballed really quickly,
Yeah,
really bad. And that kind of led me into the last album that I feel like. But a little backstory of I grew up listening to country and rock and roll with my parents. I mean, that's on a Sunday if I wasn't hearing Hank Williams Sr., Hank Williams Jr., and then later on in the late 90s, I mean, it was always the 80s hair bands, which we never listened to in the 80s when they were out and live. We waited until they were in the 90s and it became
yeah,
almost classic rock at that point. But I think I started realizing when I was in the Marine Corps, when I first graduated from boot camp, like the message country music was trying to portray. And I think at that particular time in my life, I started understanding the message better and how it pertained to my life. Kind of like the show MASH. I grew up watching it, never understood it as a child. Obviously, because I had never joined the service, I wasn't an adult. I didn't get the dry humor. And now I literally fall asleep to it every night. I laugh my ass off at that show. I love it. I mean, it's a great show, great comedy. And I mean, the thing lasted longer than the actual Korean War did. I mean, it's really funny and complex when you look at it. So I think country music just kind of joined the repertoire of music I already listened to. I just started becoming more heavily influenced by it and listening to it more often um, when I was in my 20s. But to come back to real time of, the mistakes upon mistakes, I'm the Problem by Morgan Wallen. I
okay,
started realizing that, like I can either allow all of my problems to define me and control me, or I can find an outlet for that stuff in a safer manner and realize that, I'm the problem in my own life. And if I just get out of my own way, I'll be successful. And as soon as I did that, I landed the job here at HCA. It was
that's awesome.
kind of kismet that, I made it into this job right before COVID hit. COVID didn't affect me whatsoever in terms of having to, be laid off or not have a job or, be social distance because I was work from home. So I think it kind of spoke to me in the right moment of this is when you need to get out of your own way and just go back to being serious about your life. I mean, it's kind of
Yeah.
forget the message I learned back in 2003 and reapplying it with a different genre of music, in 2019. So
I like that one. I will have to go check that one out too. I don't know. I've only heard a couple of Morgan Wallen songs that I'm aware of. So
well,
I'll have to.
being in Tennessee, it's very hard to not hear Morgan Wallen because it's probably almost every other song you hear on the radio.
Yeah, ever since I got Apple Music, I don't think I've listened to the radio since. I just like Siri, play me blah blah blah.
Exactly.
It's like days of me listening to the Who or someone like that. So the last album on mine, um, it's just one of my favorites musically. Really great lyrics too, from my point of view. And I actually found this band by accident. There was a place in Bowling Green, Kentucky that I used to go to called The Great Escape. That was or actually at that point in time, I apologize. It was called Pack Rats, which
Okay.
fits me even better. But it was a used CD and movie place.
Yeah.
So I would go there, and they would always have these dollar bins. And I would go through and look at album covers, look at song names. I'd buy $10 worth of CDs. So I went there one day and I picked up an album by a band called Hum, Hum,
Okay.
called You'd Prefer an Astronaut. Green cover, black and white zebra in the corner. So that's pretty interesting. Looked at the song names, like, okay. That has probably been one of my favorite albums in my entire life that I got from a dollar bin. I've played it for tons of people, and then they've went out and found the CD, or now they listen to it streaming and things of that nature. But I still go back to a lot of the songs off that one. Just it's someone who likes Rush would probably like Hum.
I like a few
It's
Rush
it's more.
songs. I can't say I like an entire Rush album.
I am the same way. I'm not a Rush fan, but to me, Hum is a better version of progressive rock.
Okay.
You know, it would that album may actually be like all the Rush hits.
I got you.
Um,
So
yeah,
it's got
that was
like
just
7 songs on it. That's it.
yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. It actually only has 7 songs, to be
That's too
honest.
funny.
I'll have to go check and make sure it's not actually 8, but it was only a few songs too. But it's more progressive rock. It's very it's heavier, but it's really good album. One that I would recommend to anyone who enjoys rock and roll.
Okay. Yeah, I focused a lot on rock too, but nothing that like a full album I think really spoke to me. There was some honorable mentions in my list that uh, Skid Row, 18 in Life,
Yeah,
that album was incredible. Um, Made me realize I never wanted to die at the age of 18, but
yeah,
there's times you look at yourself and you're like, I don't know if I'll make it past that age. And to me,
oh yeah,
27 was that age. And the fact that I'm still sitting here at 44 just baffles me every day sometimes that I made it. I've been successful. I've come out the other side, probably not clean, but, you
yeah,
know, better off than I was at 12.
yeah. No, I definitely understand that. Yeah, there's so many. You've talked to me for a long time. Music has been a big part of my life. I wrote and I played also. Um,
What's the name of
so
your band?
I've had a couple of bands. The first one that I was ever in was a band we called Alex, and its name got he Alex was the name of the dog in the house that would stand and bark at the door while we played music.
Okay.
He was not happy with us. So we named that first band there. Now, granted, we only played for about 3 months, but I wrote a few songs, and that's when I bought my drum set and started learning how to play because we didn't have a drummer. Uh, the bands that I recorded with had a band called Granny Green,
Okay.
which I know kind of an odd name, and there's actually another Granny Green we learned from I think Scotland, uh, much more famous than we ever got. but we actually got signed to an indie label out of Nashville at one point in time, and played a lot of fairgrounds. Actually put on shows. I've played with a lot of bands who got really famous, but that was my early 20s. But Greeny Green was a legend from this area, so we
That's awesome.
named the band after a local legend. And then another band that we never actually played out a lot, but we recorded a demo. It was really good. Was a band called Nubby Rush. You can find a lot of that stuff on YouTube. There's some live shows that we played that are out on YouTube. And then I got into playing country music covers with a band for roughly about 5 years. And they're still playing in Murfreesboro right now, called the Jack Finley Band.
Okay.
Fun band to go see. Of course, I'm not drumming for them anymore, but they still
Right.
have an amazing drummer. But there's a ton of songs throughout my life that have been huge influences, torn me this way and that, and helped me get through pain. I've always leaned a little more toward positive music. Like when I get to something I want to listen to at the core. And there's been a lot of that stuff throughout the years that has helped me just make it through everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I always said that if I ever made a band or created one, our band name would be the Blue Water Splashback. It just always reminded me of, in Iraq, the first thing they do, 7, 8 a.m. is they call them the third country nationals. So like our vendors, if you will, for the Marine
Yeah.
Corps would come in, clean our porta potties and everything like that. And they'd fill it up with this brand new fresh water. It was always blue. And
Yep.
it just reminded me going in there, taking my first morning dump. And that water splashes on you, and then you're like, you just feel dirty for the rest of the day. I've always, that was always my band name and Guitar Hero and Rock Band and everything. Blue Water Splashback.
Okay. I get that. So our rock band name, because me and my family actually still play rock band. We got like 800 songs.
Oh wow.
So as long as we can keep the thing running, we'll play it. But we go by the name Passing Time, and I always thought that if I started another band, if it's not taken, that would be my next band's name, Passing Time.
I like it.
Yeah. Well, I know when we talked, we also talked about movies, but we've been at this for a little bit. Do we have time to kind of go through?
Yeah, I mean, we got a couple minutes. We could probably scuff over some movies.
I'll just kind of give you the rundown of the things when I was trying to think about what might be my top 5 favorite movies. Once again, kind of scattered. I think everything is a comedy. Biodome. I don't know if you know that one. Polly Shore.
Oh yeah.
One of my favorites of all time. Making a filter.
What's your goal in life? To die and come back as a leotard?
Yeah. Oh, Laura, I wish I could remember exactly what they say. So when they're trying to talk about how many days of the year, and it's like 385 days, and the scientist says yes, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, that doesn't math. Ghostbusters would be my next one, and the funny thing about that one is my parents took me to see that in theaters, and apparently right after Slimer came through, I looked up at my dad and I said, I want some Kool-Aid. So they had to take me home. I didn't watch it again for a couple of years, but it's a memory that I still have in my mind. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Um, love that movie. Um, Monty Python's The Holy Grail,
Yeah.
and then Fun with Dick and Jane, which is a Jim Carrey movie.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
She was it Leah Thompson? Was that her
yes,
name?
I think so. Um, Either that or was it Tay Leone?
Tay Leone Thompson. That's it.
But yeah,
I knew she was in Bad Boys.
yeah, those were probably I could watch those at any given time. Yeah, I could turn them on and I would just sit there and watch them.
A Few Good Men. That's probably one of my favorite movies of all time. I could watch it literally back to back to back and never get tired of it.
Can't handle the truth, right?
Right. Can't handle the truth. Um, I've noticed, and having watched it as many times as I have, the two Marines that are on trial, the movie's almost 2 hours long. They get their ranks right one time in the whole movie. Like, it's either the Lance Corporal becomes a corporal, the PFC becomes a private, somehow they mess up their ranks in literally every scene except for one, and it's at the very end of the movie. So I always laugh at that particular portion of the movie. I watched a lot of military movies, American Sniper.
Yeah.
Big fan of like the miniseries Band of Brothers in the Pacific. But outside of that, I would say In the Army Now, which comedy slash military. Big fan of Pauly Shore growing up
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Son-in-Law was probably one of my favorites too, but I've always been a Kelly Kapowski slash Tiffany Thiessen fan, so that
Yes.
one was right up my alley. There's Something About Mary.
Oh yeah.
I mean, is that hair gel? Like that's stuff like that. Just it kind of makes me laugh at the level of my soul. Like kind of really realizes that nothing in life needs to be taken too seriously.
Oh yeah.
There was a movie line once that said, don't take life too seriously, you'll never get out alive. I can't pinpoint the movie right off the top of my head right now, but I think about that a lot. And then
I know that one
Wolf of
too.
Wall Street. I think just being able to make something out of nothing is kind of like the American dream. Maybe not getting caught by the FBI for millions of dollars of, illegal stock sales, but hey, we all get there in the end. But I'm a big fan of like the Fast and Furious series, not because I think that they're amazing actors by any means. I like it for the action sequences and the fight scenes, and while they may be as corny as they are, they're still entertaining to me. And then Harry Potter.
Yep.
I'm gonna bring this subject back up in another take one day because I've been told that Harry Potter isn't really Harry Potter. It's just a crappier version of Star Wars. And while I look at it at its core, you're not wrong. But I don't know if crappy is the word I use for it.
No.
But yeah, I would love to debate that one day.
Yeah. I would be up for that. I'll have to kind of brush back up on some of the Star Wars movies that I've seen because we kind of watch, or we do watch Harry Potter at least once every year. Typically, we start somewhere in October and run through a week or so before Christmas gets around. So that's one that I've watched a lot, and I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I didn't get into Star Wars till I was in my 20s, though, and I had a brother who was huge in the Star Wars his entire life, but he got me hooked in when I was in my 20s, so I could definitely see that, And then my wife allowed me to engrave my wedding ring with the Elven script from
That's
Lord
awesome.
of the Ring. So the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings are also things that I watch a lot. Just as much as comedy, I love those kind of fantasy tales. The Labyrinth is another movie that's huge on my list for things that mean a lot to
Heard
me
about the
too.
Labyrinth a lot. I know, Billy Idol's in it. I've never watched it.
No, it's
Or Billy Joel.
no. Hold on a minute. David Bowie. Sorry,
That's it.
it took me a minute to pull it out.
Wrong rocker.
Yeah.
You picturing the white hair and the.
Well, yeah, it would definitely remind you of Billy Idol for sure. But no, I think that's a good one. And Jim Henson, he done so many amazing things, and that's actually a Jim Henson production. Also, a lot of the characters in that are actual Muppets that were made. So it's really neat to see all the different things that he does. So I mean, yeah, I'm open to those conversations too.
Absolutely. Well, we have come to the end of our tale of our times. And I want to say thank you again for joining me. I appreciate great insight on some great albums that I'm definitely going to have to go check out. Most of which I've only heard the great songs off of. Now I need to go pay attention to the whole album. Any final thoughts? Any words of wisdom to leave the folks with?
Keep pushing
And rock on.
Yeah. Have a
Well,
great
thank
day.
you, Matt. Have a great day.
You too.
Be good.